Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. I am super proud of myself. I made it in. I was trying to give myself an out. I think a reasonable out in, waking up this morning with some ideas about how I can treat myself a little bit better. It is in the topics, in the lessons that have come across my path, in the conversations, and in the experiences. I have to show up for myself. I understand that. Hello, Hannah. I have to show up for myself, and it's not pushing myself, it's not taking the wit to myself, but it is holding myself accountable. I expect people to work with boundaries when they hang out with me, and I have to use those same kind of boundaries for myself, with myself. And it is in that expectation, because that's another word that's been coming across my path, expectation. It is in the expectation that, I'm going to help myself out. And in helping myself out, I'll be able to help those other parts of me. And then, if I can manage to get those other parts of me in proper zinc, because today it was a challenge. I tell you, it was a challenge. I have been sick for over 24 hours. And yesterday I didn't come into my life, but I don't think there was any way that I could have. I was in bed by 9 o'clock and I stayed in bed for 12 hours. And then, not beating a dead horse, but wanting to get some things done that I had put on that list of accomplishing for myself, that I wanted to get those things done if I possibly could. So, understanding that I was going to be kind to myself in that process, that I did it in just baby steps, get up, do a little bit for myself, right? Then get up, do a little bit for the house, then get up, do a little bit for my brand. And at the same time, I'm right, I am tired and I am not feeling in top form today, but I did want to show up. It's important for me to show up. You know, in my working career, I call it working career because it was never truly any career. It was only jobs that had interesting experiences attached to them. It's a different story for me now. I'm moving in a direction where at 63 years old, that possibly I could be moving towards a career, right? There's pushback. Just today, in that pushback, in the past hour, I have been back and forth trying to get my life done, but not anticipating how long I could stay in the live. So I promise you're just going to come in. It's going to be a short live tonight. That way I can feel good that I came in. I could be kind to myself in that process, understanding that I'm not feeling top form. And so, coming to the table with an abundance of energy, you know, is challenging, but I don't think impossible. I don't think it's impossible because that sense of accomplishment that I have now, because I did show up, really didn't want to show up, really didn't think I could show up today, but I didn't want to go 2 days without showing up. You know, as much as I do this for myself, I understand also that there are other people kind of hanging out with me while I'm having my experience. And maybe alongside me, they're having their own experience. And sometimes it's just the company we have in that. We don't always feel good. It's not going to be the first time that I've hit the pavement and I really didn't hit the pavement. It was a little bit of food poisoning or something like that, right? But it was a surprise. It was something that I wasn't expecting. And lots of times, we like to think that we got the next few hours, the next few days, the next few weeks, all tied up and planned, and we don't know what wrench is going to be thrown into that plan, right? All we can do is the best that we can do. That's all that's expected of us, right? And in that kindness to myself, right? I didn't beat myself down like I was a dead horse, right? I did it in baby steps. I did it in manageable steps. And at the same time, I feel pretty good. I got a lot done, even not feeling at my prime. I got a lot done. And in that, I am kind of proud of myself. And in the lessons that I've taken myself, I have to be proud of that effort. If I happen to just say, you guys, that's my live, we're done tonight, I have to take off, right? That's the way it's going to be, right? But at least I made that effort. And I think possibly, just not an effort, I think in placing myself in that situation, I become the evidence. I become the idea that we are not fragile. We are not fragile, but at the same time, right, there are responsibilities in what we do, and I recognize that too. And in being the best human being I possibly can, it's important for me to show up if I can show up. And I truly didn't think that I would be able to show up tonight, but I I made it work in the last hour. I made it work. I'm feeling pretty decent in this moment. And sometimes that's just what it is in hitting that live button, because it is in our traumas, it is in those childhood experiences that we have that kind of trigger us when we have to show up or when we want to show up, because for most part of our lives we weren't welcome to show up. Nobody was interested in hearing what we had to say. Definitely, right? To be seen, that was always a challenge. But in this digital age, which I do believe was unexpected, right? When it happened, because I do believe a lot of things that went on in my life wouldn't have even been a thought, right? The fear of God, the fear of retribution, right? Whatever it is, it would have it would have kept people in line. But at the same time, you know, it gave us, or it gave me at the very least, an opportunity to recognize, right? What's serving me, what's not serving me, what's doing me well, and what I can probably do without. But without those lessons, without showing up, I'm not going to come across any of that. None of those lessons. It is in that action that we take, right? I thought, oh, we're going to go live, and I'm talking myself out of it. Cindy, you're sick. You could take another day, right? But make myself a cup of coffee, do things in baby steps, and then the next thing you know, right? I'm managing, right? I'm managing. And that's a lesson for everybody, because sometimes just managing is worthy of feeling that accomplishment, worthy of that little bit of pride for ourselves. And that's the truth. Okay, you guys, I said it was going to be a short one. I'm sorry about this week, but I am in the midst of it just like everybody else. Well, I suspect I'm in it, everybody else is, right? Maybe not. Maybe this is just the Cindy show. I don't know. But I am proud of myself in this moment, right? I might sleep another 12 hours tonight, but if I need that 12 hours, I will take that 12 hours, right? In that kindness to myself, right? To make sure that I recognize that I matter, right? And it's not like I said, doing one of these mush, get this done, right? And manipulating, manipulating myself because I do want to come live, because I do want to hold myself accountable. But the way I feel right now, that wasn't something truly I had to worry about, right? I showed up, and it wasn't so terrible. Maybe there's a lesson in there tonight. Maybe there isn't a lesson in there, right? But at the same time, like I said, I can be proud of myself that I showed up. I'm just going to click this notification out. But thank you again, Anna, for showing up. And anybody who shows up later, I hope you having a nice day, right? That you're having a productive day. And in that kindness for yourself, because you know you got to get things done, to have that recognition that you can get it done. Just do it in small steps and cheer yourself on and congratulate yourself, right? Until it's accomplished. And then you can crash and fall flat on your face. No, that's not true. We don't want that in any way at all, right? We want to manage what we can manage comfortably, right? In a balanced, reasonable, I was going to say realistic, because I do try to stay in that realm, right? I'm no Jordan Peterson in any way, but you know that train of thought, right? That accountability. And sometimes it's in feeling the intent in how we talk to ourselves, not just how other people talk to us, right? But how we talk to ourselves, and just feel out that intent. In doing baby steps, a lot of what you're doing is going to be the cheerleading. It's going to be the encouragement and inspiration and the motivation, right? And that's the truth. And so I stressed for the past hour about whether or not I could manage my live. I could have just come into my live and said, hey, it might be a 2-minute live today and help you out of here, right? But I didn't. And I managed through it. Everybody, right? Giving yourself that pep talk, right? Being that cheerleader, being that motivator for yourself, right? Just feel that intent, right? And if you really felt it, you could say it was love, right? For me, that it was, because I love my brand. I want to be consistent, and I want to be relevant in what I'm doing, right? But if I'm not showing up, then I'm neither. So I got to feel good in that. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that, right? I'm going to leave it at that. Munch on that. Maybe it will serve you in some way. I love the baby steps, right? Everybody is such a rush to get to the destination yesterday. Everybody is. But this is a lifetime after lifetime after. This is going to go on for a very long time. But I do believe that in this moment, right, that in this digital age, it triggered our evolution to move a little bit faster, but it's important for us to stay clear in that, to stay real in that, to recognize what's true and not just true for us, because there's a lot of stuff out there that I recognize is not the truth, and and I couldn't share it if my life depended on it, and it's coming from people who have offered me up amazing lessons, right? So, you know, at the same time, I'm going to have to say we can get lessons from all over the place. You know, it's not always in the good experiences and in the good human souls, or not going to say good human souls, but the human souls that are around us, right? Because there can be disillusion there. There can be loneliness there. There can be jealousy and resentment there. And that will interfere, right? And, I don't know how difficult it would be if I had to struggle with some of those things every single live. I do stall on hitting that live button on occasion. And when you see me come in and I'm giggling to myself, that's usually what it is because I've been sitting there for 5 minutes going, hit that button, Cindy, hit that button. Okay, you guys, just a couple of minutes. First perspective on this card right here. Kind of in line to what I was talking about tonight, in that kindness and when we need to get things accomplished, when we're not feeling great, when the workload is been too much, when those stress levels have gone up there, when somebody has triggered you, when you've got problems going on in the background, right? That we have to remember to be tender to ourselves, right? We got the word tenderness. And in line, I was going to say, it was kind of in line with what I was talking about today in being kind, right? Having a little bit of compassion for ourselves, right? We all run around out there having compassion for other people. And, you know, we are a little bit cannibalistic with ourselves, aren't we? I know for myself, I can be that way, right? I can sacrifice myself for my brand if you would, well, if I would let me, but I wouldn't let me because this is my life. This is my story. This is my movement forward. And this is my idea of balance because I do believe it could be a totally different story if it hadn't been for the conversations, the experiences, the adventures, and the lessons along the way. And that's a 100% truth. Okay, tenderness. It says here, tenderness is in the appreciation that we are only human and that we live in a world of all kinds of human. And that is 100% the truth, right? That we can't treat everybody the same way. I learned that one very, very early. You have to get to know people. You have to be able to feel their strengths and their weaknesses, what makes them happy, what do they struggle, what do they struggle in, right? And I can relate that just even to myself. What do I struggle in? And then have that tenderness for myself, knowing no matter what, I've got to move forward, right? What's the smallest thing that I can do right now, right? That would show in my appreciation. Maybe it was the idea tonight, the past hour. Cindy, I said, if you can't go live tonight, you can't go live, right? I tried to go live, made myself as comfortable as I can, and I managed okay. Sometimes it's just in our heads that say we can't do anything. And lots of times we can come to the table not feeling good, right? We go to work with a cold. We go to work when the knees hurt that morning. You know, we go to work when your wife just says she wants a divorce, right? Or one of our parents passed away, that we sold ourselves accountable in those moments that we could so easily, right? Because those are fragile moments that we could so easily break. But in recognizing with that little bit of tenderness, if you're going to show up, if you're going to show up to work, if you're going to show up in anything and you're not feeling good, do the baby steps, right? And in your honesty, let people know, right? In your conversations, in your, right? In running across the path of somebody else, bumping into a old friend and you're not feeling good and all you can think about is getting home, or right, just getting into the silence and just right focusing in how miserable you are. But sometimes, in that tenderness to ourselves, we can find that tenderness for others, right? Because I would like that empathy from others. I would like to think that somebody is putting themselves in my shoes. And even if I don't say anything, they could recognize that I'm not up to par and give me a little bit of allowance for that, right? Understanding the lesson is still going to be there, right? But it just might not be polished. But am I a polished person anyway? Right? I like to give the lessons through my experience, and I like to give the lessons in um, layman's terms, right? So that everybody has an opportunity to understand, that everybody, if their curiosity gets a hold of them, that they might truly understand and get something out of what I'm trying to get across, right? And how amazing that would be in my little bit of noisy me, right? And not in a pity kind of mode, but just recognizing that I'm not up to par, that I can offer up that little bit of kindness for myself, right? Not just kindness for others, but also if I can show up, if I can do it in baby steps, maybe there is a little bit of kindness for somebody else, a little bit of understanding in a moment where the moment before there was no understanding. Sometimes it's just in the food for thought, and that's the truth. Okay, you guys, I did it. Right? But I was willing to take the day off, right? I was. And actually, I was willing to come live a few times today. And in that, not procrastination, but in that kindness to myself, right? Knowing I was going to show up anyway, I got other things done so that I could have that sense of accomplishment if I wasn't able to get the message across in this moment, that at least I could be proud of my effort, right? To just show up, right? If not showing up tonight for you guys, I'm showing up for myself. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer. I'm going to sip on my coffee for a couple of minutes and then I'm going to bed. You guys have a great night and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye. You did it, Cindy.